On a 5 yes vote, motion carries. Item 15.8.
Adoption of resolution number 2425-3667, denouncing hate crimes and bigotry targeting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Lepsak?
Yeah, in regard to the resolution of denouncing hate crime and bigotry targeting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, I reached out to my Asian friends and constituents, and one of my friends is actually an expert in this subject. Her name is Dr. Wenyuan Wu. She was born and raised in mainland China and is now a proud American. She's the executive director of the Californians for Equal Rights Foundation, has her PhD in international studies, and her organization fights discrimination against Asians, especially as it relates to college and university admissions, and they condemn anti-Asian hate crimes. Here is her expert analysis on this resolution and some of my input along the way. The rise in crimes against Asian Americans is serious and deserves attention. However, we should look at it in the broader context of rising crime across the country and avoid blaming racism or white supremacy without enough evidence. Misunderstanding the issue can lead to public fear, ineffective policies, and unfair use of public resources. Crimes against Asian Americans are serious, but so are crimes overall. Violent crime in the United States has increased for all racial and ethnic groups, not just Asian Americans. From 2018 to 2021, crimes involving Asian American victims nearly doubled, but so did crimes against whites, blacks, and Hispanic victims, in many cases by even higher percentages. While Asian Americans can make up about 6% of the U.S. population, they are victims in only about 2% of violent crimes. Policing has weakened in some cities. Political efforts to reduce or reform policing have made it harder for police departments to solve crimes. As a result, violent crimes have gone up while arrest rates have gone down. Here's my 2 cents as a non-Asian. Before I was a teacher, I was a peace officer for the Orange County Probation Department, and I can see how enforcing laws impact the safety in our streets and schools. And I know with the looming layoffs, there have been some public comments about ridding the district of police and security officers in our schools because it's a waste of money and makes our kids feel like criminals. I have been visiting many secondary schools, and I haven't gotten to them all yet, but I will. And I spoke to the International Baccalaureate freshmen at Saddleback and asked them what they thought about police on their campus. They told me that their presence makes them feel safer. They said especially when it comes to vaping in the bathrooms, which apparently is a big issue. I know this is a rabbit trail, but one student said something I thought was great advice and insightful, and she said, "Why do our schools just tell us not to vape without giving us good reasons?" She suggested a poster in all school bathrooms giving the short-term and long-term harms of vaping, and I think it's a great idea. So back to Dr. Wu's analysis. She says, be careful with the term hate crime. The FBI tracks hate crimes with a clear definition, and the reports show that total hate crimes have actually decreased from 2020 to 2021. Meanwhile, organizations like Stop AAP I Hate, which is in this resolution, count things like rude comments, being ignored, or online trolling as hate incidences. These are not crimes, and they should not be used to justify policy decisions. Exaggerated fear can hurt our communities. And in the resolution, it also talks about model minority ideas. She says it's politically motivated. Some activists claim that praising Asian American success is used to maintain white supremacy and hide racism. But the values credited for success, such as hard work, education, strong families, are not racist. They're shared by many Americans. And at the same time, the same critics often stereotype successful Asian students as lacking creativity or leadership when it comes to college admissions. That's unfair and hypocritical. So bottom line, Dr. Wu concludes by saying we need to protect all people from violence, including Asian Americans. Overstating the role of racism distracts from the real causes of crime and leads to policies that don't help. We should focus on building safe communities through honest discussion, better policing, and fair treatment for all. Yep.
Ms. Magdaleno?
Yes, thank you. I just want to do brief comments on. I support this resolution denouncing hate crimes and bigotry targeting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. In recent years, we have witnessed an alarming rise in racist attacks and hateful rhetoric directed at our AAPI communities across the country, and it is our responsibility as educators, leaders, and community members to take a clear and unwavering stand against such acts of hate. This resolution affirms our collective commitment to speak out against bigotry in all its forms, to defend and protect those who are targeted, and to demand justice and accountability for those who commit these heinous acts. Hate has no home in our schools, in our neighborhoods, or in our society. We affirm our pledge to ensure that every AAPI student in our district feels safe, valued, and seen. Our schools must be places where all students, regardless of background, can thrive without fear through education, community engagement, and standing united against hate. We will continue working toward a more inclusive and justice for all. This resolution not only serves as words on paper, but as a promise in action. We will continue to uplift the voices of our AAPI students, families, and staff, and we will never be silent in the face of injustice. Thank you.
Ms. Brazier-Seves?
Yes, thank you. I'm proud to support the resolution denouncing hate crimes and bigotry targeting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders this evening. I want to thank my colleagues on the board for supporting this as well, and for the work of our district in supporting our students and community. And I wanted to highlight the section whereas on line 51, whereas the Santa Ana Unified School District Board of Education remains committed to an ethnic studies program that highlights AAPI histories along with Black, Latinx, Chicanx, and Native Indigenous histories, so as to combat the anti-AAPI racism being experienced by many AAPIs in our state and county. And I wanted to highlight this for many reasons, for several reasons. But originally, I wanted to highlight this because I've had the opportunity to visit some of our ethnic studies classrooms during visits to sites, and stop by and see the work that's being done. And when I saw this resolution, and from some of the previous conversation in our board meetings around working with Asian American and Pacific Islander organizations, no cost agreements, that example came back to me, and it stuck with me because it was artwork of a student who identified as Asian American, and I believe it was a mask project, and they wrote their story on the inside of the mask, and they wrote about hate incidents and what they had experienced. And so I'm extremely grateful to our ethnic studies teachers and our program that we remain committed to, that provides the space for students to be able to share if they've had these kinds of unfortunate and unacceptable experiences, unfortunately. But a safe space for them to be able to share it. And oftentimes hate crimes, crimes of violence can go underreported. And so I think it's another a powerful testament to these spaces to allow our students to get the support that maybe they're seeking, but at least to be able to share their story and their experience. Hate crimes is very serious. In my line of work, I've had the opportunity over the years to work with the county, Orange County Human Relations, to work with immigrant serving organizations across the county. And we have seen rises in hate crimes, and whether just any hate crime, the impact it can have on an individual, on their life, on their family, and in our communities. And so I think we have to honor these conversations and ground them in respect, and let the community know that this is, these are our values of safety, belonging, and inclusion. And I hope that we can continue in that way. I'm seeing a trend, unfortunately, where, last month was a recognition for our Arab American Heritage Month recognition, and we had members of the community come out tonight to share how deeply they were impacted by some of the negative comments that were made. And so it's disheartening for me to sit here and see that happening again. And so I feel uncomfortable, and I want to acknowledge that because our community deserves better. And I stand, with you. I'm receiving the emails, the conversation out at our sites and in the community. And I'm just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that, some of these negative things are being said and that people are being impacted. So anyways, to keep it, on this, to honor our AAPI community, I'm honored and privileged to support this tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Brazier-Seves. As a school board, we have a moral and civic responsibility to speak clearly against hate in all of its forms. That's why I strongly support our district's resolution condemning hate crimes and bigotry targeting Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. So let's be clear about what this resolution is. It's a statement of solidarity. It's an acknowledgement that violence, harassment, and discrimination against our AAPI neighbors have surged in recent years, from the deadly attacks that we've seen across the country to the everyday racism many endure in silence. Our students, staff, and families in the AAPI community deserve to know that this district sees them, values them, and stands with them. Unfortunately, one of my colleagues, Ms. Lepsak, has chosen or will choose to oppose this resolution. If we can't name racism, we can't fight it. And we cannot simultaneously say that we care about student safety while refusing to acknowledge the very force that endangers it. And racism is not some kind of abstract idea. It's not a faceless problem. It shows up in targeted ways against Black communities, against Latino communities, against immigrants, LGBTQ plus people, and our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. So denying this resolution doesn't erase racism. It erases the lived experiences of people who have faced real threats, real violence, and real fear. Our AAPI students and families are not asking for special treatment. They're just asking for an acknowledgement, for dignity, for basic safety. And if we can't even offer that through a resolution, then we're failing them as a board and as a district. And with that, I'm going to call the question.
Very hypocritical.
We have a motion and a second. Let's proceed to vote. On a 4 yes, 1 no vote, the motion carries. We do have an item that is time sensitive, item 15.11.